So moving on to the NFL, they had their first coach fired this week, as Chip Kelly, the Eagles, was fired just a few days. It was on Wednesday, which is a week before when they're usually fired, which is called Black Monday, which is the first Monday after the end of the NFL season. And I wanted to kind of preview that a little bit, but I'm going to talk about who was actually fired, which was Chip Kelly first. He is the former Oregon Duck coach. He was this running the spread offense, running fast pace, all that, like up tempo. He's the guy for offense. Coming out of the college ranks, he kind of set up that whole non-pro system, kind of run quarterback, run everything, speed option, read option, all that stuff. I think he could be really good. He was just kind of set up to fail there with being a GM too, and I think there's a lot of good coaching options, like locations that he can go to and be a good coach. And I'm going to talk about him briefly here. I think there's one that I want to rule out real quick, and that's the Giants. I've heard this name tossed around a lot by some NFL analysts on ESPN and Fox Sports and all that, and I don't think that's a good option for him. He doesn't have a good quarterback in Eli, and they're going to have all the good mobile quarterbacks will be gone by then. So I don't know what he's thinking or what people are thinking with him going there, but I don't really see it being a good job for him. So I have 5 names right here that I'm going to talk about real quick. And first one is the 49ers. Obviously, they still have a coach with Tom Sula still there, and he could. It's only his first year, so he could be gone. He could keep him. I don't see them really moving him, releasing him, or anything yet. But I still think he'll be there after Black Monday. If he's not, Chip Kelly would be able to slide right in there and take Colin Kaepernick and put him back in the starter role, or Blaine Gabbert, who's athletic enough to play that quarterback position in the new era. And another thing, speaking of Colin Kaepernick, I think wherever Kaepernick goes would be a good fit for Chip Kelly as well. That wasn't really a team I had on there, but I wanted to throw that out, talking about the 49ers. So I don't think Kaepernick's days are numbered at the 49ers quite yet. He just has to have a good coach that doesn't really want to give up on him quite as quickly as Tom Sula did. The next team that I have is kind of a shocker team. It's the Miami Dolphins, who fired their coach midseason this year and had Dan Campbell, the whole hoorah thing. And I'm just saying this because they haven't hired Campbell completely, and I still think they will, or at least someone with his background with defense and stuff, because they have one of the premier defensive tackles in the league, and they need to work on their offense too. So they need to get at least an offensive coordinator that's really good. But if they get Chip Kelly, I think Ryan Tannehill would be a perfect quarterback for his system, which is running quarterback with a big arm that can just throw it down the field. I mean, he's got to work on his accuracy, obviously, but still he can throw it pretty far down the field and get the running ability on there too. So I think that's a great option. And then I'm going to move on to another AFC team. Well, I guess they're all AFC teams I have left. But the Colts are a surprise pick here as well, just because Andrew Luck isn't considered the considered the premier running quarterback, but he's super athletic. I think he ran faster than RG3, and that's another guy Chip Kelly can go coach wherever he goes as well. And I think Andrew Luck, going back to the Chip Kelly to the Colts, he could be a good quarterback for this Chip Kelly system. He just needs to have linemen around him to be going on to that next level. I think Chip can come in with an offensive scheme to put linemen different ways and stuff like that, just to make Andrew Luck feel a little bit more comfortable in the pocket. And I just think it's a good fit there, because the Colts are expected to fire Pagano if they don't get a playoff berth, which I talked about how they could get a playoff berth in my other podcast released on, I think it was Thursday, where I talked about all the playoff, how the playoffs could shake out this year. So I have 2 teams left, and I'm going to go through these kind of quickly because they're kind of obvious. The first one, I guess I'm going to go with the less obvious one first. That's the Cleveland Browns. They have Johnny Manziel as the incumbent right now coming into the next year, and he's the prototypical Chip Kelly quarterback. Can run, has a good arm, and he can scramble, knows how to play. He's got good football IQ, just not good social IQ, and I think Kelly could bring that out of him just be a little bit smarter with his decisions and stuff. And I think if he goes to the Browns, he'll have a good defense and a good defensive coordinator already built into there. And he can have a little bit more control and say over the players he wants, but not as much as he had in Philadelphia, obviously. So I think that would be a good choice for him, especially with Manziel and a couple other key pieces there. He needs to get some wide receivers, but if he gets Josh Gordon back, him and Manziel will be really good together. And I think Kelly, Manziel, Gordon, and then they got a good couple running backs too that are not too bad. So I think that could be a good one for him to go as well. And then the last one, which is probably the most obvious choice, is the Tennessee Titans. This could be Chip Kelly's real mainstay because Mariota's already there. They got a good defense behind him, and Mariota was his quarterback back in college. So I think he knows what makes Mariota tick, makes Mariota play well, how to scheme around Mariota and all that stuff. It'd be just absolutely perfect for both of them. And if he does go to Tennessee, they could be a playoff team next year, I think, if not a division winner next year. And those are those 5 teams I think Chip Kelly could go. I'm going to talk about just real quick a couple other things to look forward to on Monday, the 4th, which is Black Monday. Will Pagano actually be fired, or is that just smoke in the mirrors? What will Tom Coughlin of the New York Giants do? Will he retire? Will he stay coaching next year? Will he be an advisor next year? That could be another thing too. Well, what's his plan? I think the Giants are going to find out. Are they going to fire him if he doesn't retire? Things like that. And then there's already 3 jobs open, so there's probably already been some interviews for those 3 jobs, and those jobs are the Dolphins, the Titans, and the Eagles. Do they come up with anything new, or do they wait till this day to see what happens? Do they try to say that their interims are open, their interim coaches, or they're not going to keep them as a full-time coach? What's their plan there? And then obviously the Browns going to replace their coach. That's like a staple for Black Monday every other year. It's kind of ridiculous, but same with Jim Caldwell at the Lions. Is he gonna stay for another year? They're gonna give him another shot, or is he gonna get fired? That one could go either way. I don't really know. They have good pieces around Stafford and Calvin Johnson, but they need to figure out how to do something on the offensive side when Johnson isn't really open or having a good week. And then what does Sean Payton's future hold? And he's the Saints coach. He's been rumored in a lot of trades and a lot of the team just cutting him, seeing where he could go. He's one of the better coaches, smarter coaches, but I don't really know what the Saints are planning to do there. If they're just going to rebuild completely behind Garrett Grayson instead of Drew Brees and all that. I guess we're going to find out on Monday with that one. And then McCoy from the Chargers, who was the Broncos offensive coordinator a couple of years ago. What's the Chargers' plan for him? Are they going to keep him, or are they going to go with someone new? Or because if they move to Los Angeles, they just blow it up completely, get rid of Rivers, get rid of Keenan, or keep Keenan Allen and a couple other young guys, or what's the plan with them? And then the last one, which is really interesting to me, is what happens to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers? He's one of the better coaches in the league, but he also has a lot of mistakes, so I don't know what their plan is. I mean, they were expected to go to the playoffs the last couple of years, and they've been right on the brink. I mean, that's obviously because their defense isn't the best. They've lost Polamalu. They've lost a lot of playmakers over the year. They've gotten older. What's their plan is kind of what I'm thinking with the Steelers. And then I'm going to end this off here with a couple names to think about, or things to think about more of in the future, and just basically in their job searches for these teams. There's three names and then one kind of scenario I'm going to talk about real quick. The first name I got is Adam Gase. He's the Bears and former Broncos offensive coordinator. What happens to him? Does he stay as that offensive coordinator, or does he go to be a head coach? I think he's on the up and up. He's an upcoming future coach in the NFL. I think he's going to be really good if he gets to go somewhere. Then another name that I've seen thrown around a little bit is David Shaw from Stanford. He worked out really well the last Stanford coach going to the NFL worked out really well with Harbaugh going to the Niners, but can Shaw replicate that? Does he want to go? He's still got another year of McCaffrey. There's a lot of different variables there, and I don't see him going anywhere, but it's a good name to throw out there just to kind of mess with people. There's a couple other college coaches like Saban, but I don't really see him leaving. And then there's another one here, Mike Shanahan. He wants to come out of retirement and continue or start coaching again, and I don't see why he can't. But I think I don't see a really big scenario. Maybe the Giants he could go and coach, but I don't know. I don't really see that happening. That's more you'd have to have the perfect scenario for him, and I don't really see that. Then the last one is the scenario, like I said before, and that's Kevin Sumlin of Texas A&M to Cleveland. That's assuming Chip Kelly doesn't go there, kind of deal. And I think this is a great thing for both of them, because like with Chip Kelly and Mariota, Sumlin was a coach for Manziel in college. He knows what he's doing. He knows what makes Manziel tick. He knows how to keep him in line. He knows how to do all this with Manziel. So he could turn Manziel into a really good quarterback right now, not maybe in a couple of years. It's just going to be really interesting to see if he throws his name in the hat or what goes on there. And I think that this might be the most interesting Black Monday in recent years for the NFL.